You're listening to Stories Behind the Songs with Chris Blair. For more information, you can find us on Instagram and TikTok at SBT Songs, or check us out at chrisblair.com. What's up, everybody? We are back for another episode, and today we've got my buddy James Slater on the podcast. I met James years ago in Key West, and he has written so many great songs. Songs for people like Keith Urban, Old Dominion, Jessica Andrews, Jamey Johnson, Martina McBride, Tim McGraw, Rascal Flatts, Chris Young, Lady A, Kenny Chesney, Reba, Luke Combs, Willie Nelson. I could go on and on and on. His discography is just endless. And we're going to dive into some of those great songs that he's written for people like Jamey, Martina, Kenny, and Willie, just to name a few. We're going to talk about his early days and growing up, getting into music, how that took him all over the world before he ended up right here in Nashville. Some of his early influences of music, and just some great advice for early writers and diving into the stories behind the songs. So let's get to it. Here's my buddy, James Slater. All right, welcome back. Here we are in Nashville. James Slater in the house. How you doing, brother?
I'm here and ready to rock.
Yeah, man. Well, man, there's, I feel like I say this every single episode. There's so much I want to dive into. It's the same thing, man. I've known you for, gosh, I don't know, probably close to 20 years now.
Yeah.
I don't even remember where we first met, whether it was listening or anything, or Key West, or I don't know, but
it could have been Key West, and if we remember that, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Both are incredible places. Listening room in Nashville and Key West is fantastic.
Some fun times together.
You're a big fan of Key West, right?
I am. Yeah,
me too.
Yeah, I haven't been in a while, but you actually introduced me to the little Cuban sandwich spot down there.
Yes.
We got on our mopeds and that was the first time I had one of those down there. And you were like this off the beaten path. I don't even remember what it's called, but I go there every time I go to Key West.
It might be Siboney, a little house.
Yes.
Siboney is on Catherine Street. That's the Cuban. Oh my gosh, the best Cuban.
It's so good.
And then there's Sandy's Cafe, which is a tiny little place that gives you that Cuban coffee in the morning, which is fantastic too. I wrote a song, Café con Leche, about that, and it's playing a lot on No Shoes Radio, and Key West is an endless source, like Jimmy Buffett or Hemingway or Tennessee Williams, an endless source of inspiration for me.
It's
every year I'm down there 2 or 3 times.
Lots of fun.
Yeah. And you're smiling really big when we talk about Key West. It's so great.
Yeah. You can't talk about Key West and not smile.
Oh my God,
it's just one of those places. But
yeah.
All right, let's dive in. I always start with the history. So tell me about how you got into music, and you've got a great story of just growing up, moving to different places, and how you got into music. So walk us through that.
You know, you have so many people on here, and I write with so many people, maybe from Georgia, from Oklahoma, from Alabama, all great places. My story is a little bit different. I was born in the South, Durham, North Carolina, Duke University Hospital. My dad was a psychiatrist who loved to play mandolin, and my mom was British and Bolivian. Bolivia is a country in South America not too many people know about. But it's a beautiful place with beautiful people. Anyway, so at 1 year old, we moved to Miami to get into warmer weather. And then we did something crazy and we moved to the Panama Canal zone. So not Panama City, Florida. We're talking about the real South.
Yeah.
We moved to Panama. So at 8 years old, I was raised in the Panama Canal in the jungle down there. It's 50 miles from the Atlantic to the Pacific Ocean, which is probably why I love Key West so much.
Yeah.
And why when the winter comes, I'm always in warm places, you know. But like most of your writers and artists that have been on this podcast, my mom wanted somebody to play the piano, you know. So at 8 years old in Panama, she got a piano, and she started getting me piano lessons. And I was playing, does this piano work? You want me to play? Should I do a little thing?
Yeah.
I was playing stuff like for Elise and The Entertainer. Da, 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 da. So a guy when I became 14, I got tired of playing that kind of thing, you know, like any kid. And I wanted to play baseball and football and all that. My mom said it was fine, but she also found me a teacher, which was really smart. And for your listeners, it's really cool. At 14, when I wanted to quit the piano, she found me a teacher who taught me how to play. And I heard this on the radio. Elton John or, you know, Billy Joel. And once I started playing piano and learning chords like that, and Carlos Santana, I saw him at 14 or 15 in Panama. Whatever your first concert is, you'll never forget it.
Yeah.
I saw Santana, and I ended up playing, getting in a band at 15. And that really, her making sure I stayed with it, because she knew I had some talent, I guess. And she wanted someone to play piano. And so I got in a band at 15, fell in love with the music. And it's weird. So many years later, I'm doing the same thing, playing music, but played in a band, left Panama at 18. Once you graduate high school, you got to kind of get serious. Either stay in Panama or you move to the States. I came to the States, went to East Carolina University for a year, tried to be a business major because I thought, how am I going to make a living in music at 18? Didn't like it so much. Moved to New Orleans, trying to find my way. And then I auditioned for the University of Miami School of Music because of this guy. That's Bruce Hornsby. And I heard that record, man. I was like, God, where did he learn to play like that? Bruce Hornsby, the way it is. And I got into University of Miami, and man, I started learning jazz, boogie woogie. I learned about music. I had a band at 18. I was 19, 20 at that time. And just as I was graduating University of Miami, I wrote a song called All I Want from Santa is a Girl from Atlanta. Yeah. So weird. I'd already lived in Panama, but I came to Atlanta, wrote this song, and it became a Christmas hit. And I was 21, my last year of college at University of Miami, and the guys came up to Atlanta with me. We were in a ratty van, no money, nothing. And I wrote this song for fun, All I Want from Santa is a Girl from Atlanta. And we recorded it. It got played on 96 Rock, and we went from in my little ratty van for college guys to a week later in limousines with all the Atlanta Falcon cheerleaders doing a video for this song. And I thought, I got to keep writing songs.
Yeah.
And to this day, it still plays in Atlanta, and we had a great run. The only thing is we learned very quickly that after Christmas ends, nobody really wants to hear your Christmas song anymore. So we were kind of cutting grass and, doing whatever we could to survive. But I know I'm talking a lot here, but
no, this is great. So when did you when did you make it up in your mind that you're like, okay, I gotta go to Nashville?
So here's what happened. It was nice. So after the Christmas song, I stayed in the South for a while. I never even thought about coming to Nashville. Remember, I was like 22 years old with that hit in Atlanta. But Nashville was 4 hours away, but I wasn't into country music. I grew up with Led Zeppelin and Billy Joel and Elton John and all these bands. Nashville at the time was country, man. I'd never really heard of Hank Williams and all that. So I moved to L.A. because I started getting calls from publishers.
Okay.
Left the band because bands break up and everything. I went to L.A. and for about 5 years in Los Angeles, I played solo piano in Beverly Hills for Carroll O'Connor, the guy from All in the Family. A lot of your listeners won't realize because I'd seen him when I was a little kid. I spent 5 years in L.A. doing what I'm doing now, just writing for other people, trying to get songs on like Whitney Houston's album, all that. And then a friend of mine called me one day and he goes, dude, I'm in the Tower Power horn section. We're touring with Huey Lewis and the News, and our opening act is Bruce Hornsby, and we're going to Europe. Do you want to come tag along for 3 weeks? I'm like, hell yes. I had just broken up with a girlfriend, I was probably 24, 25, 26. And he said, so I got on a plane and I flew to Europe for my first time. And Chris, if you've been to Europe, or your listeners, I got to Europe after having grown up in the Panama Canal zone. And we went on tour. We went to Milan, Florence, Italy, Rome on this bus. And it was Huey Lewis every night with Bruce Hornsby opening up. And I just had the time of my life. And I said, when I came back to the States, I said, I have to live in Europe someday. I want to do that. So when I got back to the States, a friend of mine heard my CD, sent it over to a club in Switzerland, and I moved to Europe. And 1 month in Europe turned out to 7 years in Europe.
Man.
Living in Switzerland.
What part? Oh, Switzerland.
So Zurich, Switzerland. Yep. And I was doing the same thing. I was playing solo piano, but always writing songs. And this band, a very famous band from Belgium called Vaya con Dios, which for your listeners means go with God, but they weren't a religious group. They were from Belgium. Huge act. They play like the Bridgestone, style arenas all over Europe. They liked my songs. I got in the band and wrote some of their hits, and they were on BMG. And then I went on tour with them. And all the cities I'd played piano bars in, I ended up playing the arenas in. It was incredible. Even Africa, South Africa, Cape Town, Johannesburg, Belgium, Brussels, London. And so for 7 years, I did that. Then got a solo record deal on BMG, put out a record. And just as I did that, 9/11 happened. And I was like, man, I was going to get married over there. And I thought, if I stay in Europe for the rest of my life. I'll never see my parents that much, or my nephews and my brother and my sister. So I had to make a big decision after 9/11. And I visited Nashville because my same friend played at the Grand Ole Opry with Joe Cocker. I came to visit and I went, man, Nashville seems cool, man. Do I move back to LA or Nashville? And I remember I was walking the streets of Zurich one day trying to decide, what am I going to do? I got to go back to the States after 9/11. I just need to live back near my family. Was
your family still in Panama at that time?
No. They all moved to the States.
Okay.
They were living in Florida.
Okay.
Yeah, we'd all moved back. After I graduated high school, we all moved back to the States. And just to finish this up, man, I heard Billy Joel's Piano Man out of a clothing shop in Zurich, Switzerland. I went, man, I got to go to Nashville, and I need to become the piano guy of Nashville. Because I visited here, and I heard Harley Allen at the Bluebird.
Mm-hmm.
And I just heard his songs. I went, man, if this is country music, killer songs. Harley Allen was an amazing writer. And then I heard Phil Vassar. And Phil, I was like, wait, this is a piano guy. He's not such a hardcore country guy. He's doing what I could do. Because I was afraid I'd come to Nashville. I didn't really know country music that well, but man, best move I could have made. Anyway, I decided to move to Nashville. I moved here, and I got involved in the BMI Vanderbilt Children's Hospital tennis tournament, which is once a year. And by the time when I got here, I wrote a song called In My Daughter's Eyes for my brother's daughter. And That's Why God Made Mexico for Tim McGraw. And that happened within a month of being here. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And both of those I wrote solo. And I got a publishing deal with Byron Gallimore. And the rest is, the next 20 years have been, crazy.
So help me figure out the time. So what year was that?
So I moved here in 2001 was 9/11.
Yeah.
I literally left 3 months later.
Okay.
And bought a little house in Westmead. Just God was telling me, something was telling me this was the place for me.
Yeah.
Because I think also I realized when I got here, I wanted a place that really focused on lyric. I was always kind of a lyric kind of guy. I also could play a lot of different styles of music. And Nashville seemed like the place. And I tell your listeners that they're listening all the time when we're out here, just Friday night, that this is still a place where if you sit at the piano or on your guitar and you craft a lyric and you can play it solo and get it cut by a major artist. It's a little different. London, New York, LA, more production oriented, production. Yeah. Good stuff, especially now coming out. But Nashville's a place where the song, even 20 years later, I still believe it. I have a song on Kenny Chesney's last record, Guys Named Captain. It's an ode to Key West and everything. Yeah. Kenny heard it and he cut it. That was me sitting at a grand piano at Black River Studios, just doing a live piano vocal. And you guys champion songwriters here. Yeah. That's what this is about, man. And this is where I want to be. Yeah. Thanks, it's a beautiful thing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you were a couple of years before me. I moved here in 2003. And obviously the skyline was totally different.
Oh my God.
So what would you say?
The parking situation was all
parking. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
What were some of the biggest challenges that you faced when you first moved to town?
So I guess the first thing was I didn't know many people here. I didn't have an infrastructure when I got here. But I think what it is finding your tribe. Finding your group of people. Every writer you have on this stage, you see them. They have their different folks, they kind of birds of a feather. You get together, find those people. You got to get out.
Yep.
And the smart thing I did was I was playing solo piano once a week in Belmead, and people like Luke Bryan, even Leon Russell came in. I'm smiling because I remember those days. It became a hot spot. I'd play my original stuff with my little band, but everybody, Rusty Gaston, who now runs Sony, so many people, Luke Bryan. I remember everybody came in and sat in. Even Leon Russell, came and sat in. So I think the challenges are just find your people, and that, some guys come and they find them in the bars. Some find them, different ways, but you find your people, get in with them. And it's amazing how you grow up together. And now 20 years later, Tom Douglas, one of my best buddies, Brett James, I'm just going JT Harding. You find your people and you do your co-writing and all that, so. And still to this day, it's that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's changed a lot since you and I got here, but at the same time, it's still about sitting down and writing a great song and collaborating and being positive thinking.
Yeah.
It's a different landscape.
Yeah, that is so true. It's grown so much, but it still has that small town feel.
Yeah.
When you kind of put that group of guys and girls together that you feel good with and just kind of all rise together.
It does.
Everybody supports each other.
Yeah. Yeah, you do. It's a healthy competition.
Yeah.
You know, I remember when I got here and In My Daughter's Eyes was up in the top 5. And I'll never forget Dennis Matkowski. You know, he wrote, I'm a maniac. I just saw him the other night. He now has a publishing company and signed Hardy. It's his cousin, I guess. But I remember him calling me out of the blue. He didn't want it. He called me and said, man, what an amazing song. Do you have a daughter? And I'm like, I don't really have a daughter. But I wrote it for my brother's daughter. And Phil Vassar. I just remember those people that come out of it. So I try to do that now. Yeah. You know, if you can be positive and uplifting, you know, you want people to do well. There's always a healthy competition. It also drives you too. I'll hear a song now that somebody wrote and I'll be like, oh, I wish I'd written that, you know, but that's cool. Yeah. But you give them a shout out and you go, hey man, good job, dude.
And next time bring me in the room with you to write that song,
yes,
right?
Next time.
Yeah, good job, but
there's only one thing wrong with that song. I wasn't in the room with you.
That's right.
But you learn a lot of heartbreak stories here. I always tell people, it's like the Frank Sinatra song, Riding High in April, Shot Down in May. You know, you really here have to have a tough, if you're going to move here and do this, every guy, every girl, every business person, I'm sure, especially writers and artists, 1 week, you've got the next Tim McGraw single. This has happened to me. The next week, they're not releasing it because Casey Beathard wrote a different one. You know, but sometimes if you just stick with it, the world turns your way too. You got the next Kenny Chesney single and somebody else has got edged out. Yeah. And it's a beautiful town in a lot of ways, but you better be ready to handle it. Yep. It makes you tougher.
I want to dive into a first song here. Sure. One of my favorites of yours. And you've already mentioned it a couple times. Take me into your head when you came up with the idea for In My Daughter's Eyes.
Yeah, man. Honestly, when your sibling, when your brother, your sister, or someone you know has a daughter, especially in your family, or a son for the first time. I mean, I played that song here last night, man. I can't tell you how many people want the lyric to that and want to take that home with them. Yeah. It's incredible. And a couple tables had 2 daughters, so they have to get 2 of the lyrics, you know, just sign them for them and make it special. And they get to go back to Oklahoma or California where they're from and put it on their wall, and it's something that lasts forever. That was basically, I was in Europe and knowing I was moving to Nashville. I remember sitting in my apartment and going, okay, I'm committed to leave this comfort zone in Europe. Broke up with my fiance. We're still good friends, by the way. She understood. I was moving to Nashville. My brother had a daughter and I was riding the subway, the tube as they call it in London. And there was poetry up there. And the poetry on the underground in London, everybody's looking down, you know, but I was like looking at it. And one of the poems said something about hand around a finger. And that was such a, hand around a finger, meaning a little tiny hand around a finger. And I kind of took that back to my apartment with me. And my brother had a daughter. And for 3 weeks, I remember working on that song, going, I'm going to write something so that when I get to Nashville, I'll have something to play for people. Pretty much wrote it and had a first draft, had a Swiss girl sing it. She had an accent. When I got here, this is funny. I met Rodney Crowell in Ireland on a writer's retreat. And he said, and I kept in touch with him, and we were laughing. And he said, if you want to meet Garth Brooks, you got to go to the Pancake Pantry in those days. And I'm like, I'm naive, I'm like, okay, I'll go to the Pancake Pantry. Honest to God, Chris, I get here 1 week later. I have that song in my pocket. I go to the Pancake Pantry and walking out is Garth Brooks. And I'd known a friend of Gordon Kennedy who also met in Ireland. So I wasn't this stranger. I said, hey, I met Gordon Kennedy in Ireland. And he goes, and I said, I got this song called In My Daughter's Eyes, and you've got 3 daughters. And he was so nice, Garth. I'd only been here a week. And he said, come by my office, his manager. Anyway, so I went by, I left him the CD, and he liked it. And he said, man, I'm kind of retiring for a while from music. I'm raising my daughters. I like this song, but I'm not going to do it. There's your heartache, Yeah. I thought, oh, this is easy. Nope, not going to happen. And then Renee Bell played it for Martina McBride, who had 3 daughters. So this song I had crafted, and she said, but I want to get somebody to sing this demo that I'd written in Europe. I've only been here 2 weeks, man. It was crazy. So she goes, I've got this girl, Renee said. Her name is Gretchen Wilson. And I'm like, who? And she goes, Gretchen Wilson. I want to do a demo. I go, okay.
And this is before Gretchen Wilson was Gretchen Wilson.
This is crazy. Yeah. Check this out. She goes, she set up the session. I'd never been here before, never done a session, nothing. I said, you're going to have somebody else play piano on it? She goes, well, I've got this guy, Gordon Mote. You just got to, fantastic. So we go in the studio, and who comes into the studio that day? Gretchen Wilson, like walking in. I'll never forget her. Tough, just said, I'm like meeting her for the first time. She goes, I got to hurry up and cut this song quick because my daughter's in the parking lot. I just had an argument with my boyfriend. I'm like, oh my God, this is a sensitive song I've written. Is this girl who is this? What's going on? But she gets in the studio, and I've only been here 2 weeks, and she sings it and slays it, kills it. She didn't have a record deal, nothing. I remember, I think we paid her $75, and she came in for the playback, because just to make sure everything's cool, no punch-ins. And as we played back the song, I saw this tough girl go, her mascara was falling down her face. And I said, are you all right? She goes, yeah, this is beautiful. I do a lot of demos, but this one, my daughter's in the parking lot, and my boyfriend, and we had that. She was going through some stuff. And I was like, I knew she had a really nice heart, So we paid her. She left. The song takes off, becomes huge. We get a Grammy nomination. I go to the Grammys. Guess who in the meantime had gotten a record deal and gotten with John Rich and Kenny and written Big Redneck Woman. And we go to the Grammys and she wins. The demo singer wins.
2005.
Yeah.
Yes.
But that's what I'm talking about. Riding High in April. But look, man, I love her. She's great. What an artist, man. And so it was beautiful. But what a run we've had with that song.
Yeah.
And what a great story. And Gretchen, of course, is one of the greatest, man. But Redneck Woman beat out In My Daughter's Eyes, I think, for Vocal of the Year or something. So
yeah.
But those are great stories,
Yeah.
I ended up there
it's
years.
such a beautiful song. And I love that, so many years later, it's still, like you said, you're putting handwritten lyrics in people's hands right here after shows because people it touches them so much. So.
Well, I handwrite them out, and then they like to put it on the wall, and they'll send me a picture of, say, they gave it to their daughter or their daughters or their mom. Or man, so many stories. And 20 years later, we've all had a lot of you suffer loss as you get older. One sad thing is you lose people, and it becomes even more. I've lost my brother, who I wrote the song for. He's 2 years younger than me, but like Busby, like Tim McGraw's father, he got a brain tumor, and there's no explanation. You lose people. So it's weird. Now I see my niece, who's 25, living in LA. She went to Belmont. But I look at her eyes now, and I see my brother. And it's just, it's a powerful song. Yeah. And I've been fortunate to have a few of those like that. Yeah.
You want to play a little bit of it?
Sure, I'd love to. Let me put on these little headphones here. We got a piano. I love you. In my daughter's eyes, I am a hero. I am strong and wise, and I know no fear. But the truth is plain to see. She was sent to rescue me. I find reason to believe in my daughter's eyes. In my daughter's eyes.
So good, man. Just one of those classics.
It's, again, it's kind of weird. It's a song you don't need. When Paul Worley produced it, he produced it with just a symphony, an orchestra, and piano and vocal. And that was part of the magic of it. And that's one reason I think, 20 years later, man, I'm still performing that at weddings. I get flown to New York, and people want to dance with their daughter to that song. And again, that's Nashville.
Yeah.
It didn't need a lot of bells and whistles. And you'll still find songs like that. Also, that's not 8 guys on the song. That's just a solo write.
Yeah.
I'm so blessed, man.
Yeah, that's why I typically is like, take me into the room when you wrote this. And I had to stop. It's like, okay, take me into your mind. Because you wrote it by yourself. So.
Well, I had no, I wrote that in Switzerland, really fine-tuned it here. But over in Europe, it's not such a co-writing community like here. I was just new to it all. So when you get here and then you get a lot of success, all of a sudden you sign a publishing deal. And then the publishers set you up and you're 5 days a week writing with a lot of people. Co-writing is incredible. I've got 1,000 songs I've got cuts on that I wouldn't have been able to write as good if I didn't have a co-writer. But there are certain songs, a guy's named Captain for Kenny. That's what got me in Mexico. Tim McGraw, In My Daughter's Eyes for Martina, that I wrote myself, and I think, I don't know, that's just a God thing, man. Just,
100%.
Yeah. But co-writing, this is a co-writing town, and my God, it's amazing.
Yeah. You 2010. You also had 2 Grammy nominations with Jamey Johnson.
Yeah.
And you also have something fresh that is about to come out with Jamey too.
Actually, just came out.
Just came out.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that a little bit.
So Jamey Johnson, Jamey, man, I love Jamey. I met Jamey down in Key West, actually.
That's where I met him too.
You did too?
Yeah. Arliss Albatren was like, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Arliss, yeah. I just talked to him the other day. Oh my God, Jamey, look, here's the beautiful thing about co-writing. Like Jamey and I grew up in Panama Canal Zone. Jamey grew up in Montgomery, Alabama, ex-Marine, hardcore. And after In My Daughter's Eyes success, I thought, well, look, I can write all my songs myself. We can do this, So I had this title called The High Cost of Living. Ain't nothing like the cost of living high. And so I have tapes of me trying to play that, the high cost of living. And I guess I hadn't lived that high. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So somehow Jamey came into my orbit. I think we met in Key West. And I remember we were on a fishing trip down there during the BMI Songwriter Festival. And we were on a boat. Brett James went out on the boat, I think. We both got sick on that boat, throwing up and everything was crazy because it was we were fishing out there. But Jamey was fine. And afterwards I said, how is it you were cool out there? And he goes, well, I'll be honest, I smoked a little weed. And I think that's a trick when you go out into the water. It's like a gummy now, I guess, So he and I hit it off, and we met back in Nashville, and he came over one day, and I said, I got this title, High Cost of Living Ain't Nothing Like the Cost of Living High. And he liked it. And I remember we worked on it. And I remember him going home. I remember my girlfriend at the time goes, that guy's pretty not much of a character. I said, yeah, he's kind of intense, isn't he? But he went home and he came back and we finished it up in just 2 writes. And he goes, Slater, I don't think this is ever going to be a single. I just remember he goes, I just got this cocaine and a whore stuff at the 3rd verse. And he goes, do you want to try to take that out to me? And I remember just going, man, let's just write the realness of this song, man. Let's not worry about whether it's going to be a single or not. I don't like that,
Yeah.
I like just writing a real song. And thank God, because we kept that line in. And for instance, the other night here with 300 people, everybody loves that part, man. Keith Urban even was like, dude, that song High Cost of Living got me through rehab. So he went and we finished it, not thinking, whatever. And he went and recorded it on his own. And then it was in Key West. He pulled up in I'll never forget, convertible Cadillac. And he goes, Slater, get in. And it was the first cut on his album, Lonesome Road. Anyway, the one where In Color's on there.
Yeah.
And he drove me around and he had that whole jail thing in the beginning and he recorded the crap out of it. Next thing you know, it comes out. And I remember the radio wouldn't pretty unless we edited out the 3rd verse. And he goes, I'm not doing it. Jamey, he's a pretty strong guy. And so I'm like, it's cool. I think it got up to about number 34, 35, but he wouldn't edit it. And there's a lot of places, radio stations that aren't going to play that last verse. Anyway, Christmas comes. I'm walking in Florida, seeing my mom and dad, and somebody calls me and goes, dude, you got another Grammy nomination for what? For High Cost of Living, Song of the Year. And I was like, no kidding. Because, when you stick to your guns on certain songs, it filters through.
Sure.
And so many people are affected by that. So many people have been through rehab trying to stay sober. And it's become this anthem for them. And then my buddy Tom Douglas was up for Lady Antebellum. We went out to L.A. and we lost to Travis Kelce's girlfriend, Taylor Swift. And she's awesome. And by the way, it was a great time. But just to be in that thing, and this has become another song that's like, I'll be here at a show in Charleston, anywhere, and they'll be like, play High Cost. And I've had a lot of songs that were bigger hits than that, but play High Cost of Living. And I do it more like Leon Russell.
Yeah.
I can't do the old, I can't hear them. Just, like Jamey does it like this. So, let me see. I was just a normal guy. Life was just 9 to 5. And that's fantastic. But mine's more like, I was just a normal guy. Life was just 9 to 5 with bills and pressure piled up to the sky. She never asked, she knew I'd been hanging with my wilder friends, looking for some other way to... And I go off on that.
Yeah.
Because I got to get on my piano chops.
Man, I've seen you so many times, like just jamming that song where you get to the point where you're pulling your feet off the ground and playing keyboards with your feet. Yeah. So like, when did that happen?
So I'm a huge piano. I mean, I'm one of the piano guys in Nashville. I love and I will die by the piano. I'm a crazy Jerry Lee Lewis fan.
Yeah.
Ben Folds, Little Richard, man. I can play, all that. I like Barrel House, Boogie Woogie. I like all those influences, Leon Russell. So I think when I'm playing live, when you're 15 or you get in bands and you're playing piano bars, I mean, one thing you do is it's a normal thing for me to get up and play with my foot on the piano. And so what's happened is even like the other night here at the listening room, if people have seen me before and they always go, no matter what you've written, they go, are you going to play with your foot? Are you going to play with your foot? So, sometimes I think my co-writers are like, oh, here's Slater getting crazy again. But look, you got to be who you are.
Yeah.
And I play with my foot.
I love it.
And people like it.
Yeah.
And if I don't do it, I have a good time. So on a honky tonk, I'm not going to do that In My Daughter's Eyes or God Whispered Your Name, my Keith Urban thing. But I just love the piano players to play 88 keys. And look, I grew up playing all kinds of music. I can play anything on the piano. And I love playing with my foot. Yeah. And I do it on the song just usually once a night on High Cost of Living because it's such a barrel house. I can really rock it out. It's fun.
Yeah.
In the end, you got to have fun.
Yeah.
And again, you got to do your thing. You do your thing.
Yeah. And so that you wrote for Jamey, and then Sober just came out.
Yeah.
So new single out with Jamey Johnson as well.
Blessed because Jamey Jamey got sober. I think he told me it was 13 years ago. So I haven't seen him as much, but we wrote maybe once or twice after that, but he kind of laid back. As you know, he's been kind of out of the scene. I don't know whether it's like Chris Stapleton came around and filled this incredible niche of this incredible singer, but Jamey's just got the most incredible voice. Long story short, about a couple years ago, we got back together, Jamey and I had this idea, knowing he was sober. I was like, man, the thing about being sober in this town is that it's hard to be sober because every place you play as a musician, what do they want you to do? Sell more beer, sell more drinks, get crazy. Every song we write, if you listen to the radio, they're about trucks, beer, whiskey. So if you're trying to be sober, and that's all great, but if you're trying to get sober in this town, I was telling them it must be hard. I've been like a one margarita or a glass of wine or something guy. I don't know. It's just never been my thing, but I understand and my heart goes out to people who go through that. So we sat down, I had this idea and I said, let's do it. And we wrote it and it's on his new album. And I got to go in with him and Dave Cobb when he cut the song at Cash Cabin, Johnny Cash's place. Yeah. And we recorded that. They recorded that there and I got to hang out as a fly on the wall in the studio. Dave Cobb obviously produces Chris Stapleton. And man, it just came out a couple of weeks ago and we're getting such... Should I play a little bit of that one?
Sure, yeah.
A tiny bit of that? Let me do a little tiny bit of that. I'm just going to do a verse or two, but I love it. I've been mad, I've been drunk, I've been so high, I can't tell up from down. But lately I've been working on trying to get my feet back on the ground. It ain't easy on the wagon. Hell, I've lost more of my mind than I have found. And all these drinking songs we're playing at the listening room make it hard to stay sober in this town. This is my favorite verse. I'd take a paycheck and I'd turn it into a sack of weed and I'd burn it straight to hell. I would drink a beer joint dry, and the next day I'm right back in the well. If the body is a temple, I worked hard to keep the steeple spinning round. Till one day I heard the preacher say, Lord, it's hard staying sober in this town. Ain't it Jesus? It's just half the song.
Come on. Yeah.
It's nice.
Yeah.
And Jamey just delivers it so well. It's weird, like we talk about a tribe, and Jamey only written like 4 or 5 songs, but man, we just do magic. And again, I would tell your listeners and your writers and artists, you can have a preconceived notion of who you'd be good with, oh, this guy's from Georgia, this guy's from Alabama, so we'll be good together. But trust me, keep your heart open.
Yeah.
Because some of your greatest relationships will come, like Jamey and I are totally different worlds, but I think we put those two together and you get in a room and sometimes magic just happens, Sometimes my best friends and stuff, I can't write songs with. We're just supposed to be best friends. But sometimes you meet people, like Jamey, Tom Douglas and I, two piano players. People are like, well, what are you going to do? You guys are both piano players. What are you going to do? Man, he and I get in a room and I'll jump on the piano and then I'll jump off the piano and he'll jump on the piano. And we do it like a duo piano thing, right? It's like kind of Elton and Billy, not to say we're Elton and Billy, but the dual piano thing, which is really cool. I think we're talking about doing one here in January. He and I, it's really cool. Two pianos and he's like a poet and I'm like the party. And so you get it all in one thing. And I just love him. He's a dear friend and collaborator.
Dude, that you should put that out.
Yeah.
You two put out something, the party and the poet.
Yeah, we literally are. We are. Literally, that's his daughter, Claire Douglas, who's a great songwriter too at BMG. It kind of has dubbed it that. And we're booking shows. We're doing the Franklin Theater March 20th. We're talking about doing it here in January. And
amazing.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And two pianos is just different.
Yeah.
You'll go downtown, you'll see like dueling pianos and stuff. Well, we do ours, but it's ours original stuff. It's pretty cool because we have a nice list of songs with each other. Yeah. So it's fun.
Sweet.
This episode is brought to you by Brit Skin Beauty. Located in the beautiful Indulgence Medi Spa in Mount Juliet, Tennessee, Brittany is the go-to esthetician for facials, dermaplaning, microdermabrasion, waxing, lashes, and any skincare products and consultations. So many people in the music industry use her frequently, and her work speaks for itself. To schedule your next consultation or make an appointment, visit britskinbeauty.com or send an email to britskinbeauty@gmail.com.
Well, we probably have time to dive into one more song. Man, you've got so many great ones. I want you to pick. I mean, Rascal Flatts, Tim McGraw, Kenny Chesney, Willie Nelson. I mean, there's so many. Like, what? Just kind of take me, or just quickly go through them. Like, it just you've had so much success, and I
mean, let me just give you flavors, or does that make sense? I mean, oh my God, I gotta shout out to Kenny. Should I just give you? But I want to do this Willie Nelson experience.
Yeah, that's
talk about
so
experiences.
Cool. Yeah.
I got to give you one. Let me give you one of a little Kenny Chesney.
Yeah, let's do
Kenny Chesney. Because Kenny's a dear friend, and man, what an experience. I wrote this for my father, and I'll just play a little bit for your listeners. Growing up near the ocean, a lot of your listeners here, a lot of people in Nashville, we all go to Key West. We love Key West. I also spent a lot of time in other parts of Florida, but I like the dive bars. And I wrote this song about guys in Key West, Captain Outrageous and Captain Tony's bar down there. They've all passed now, but I wrote this for my dad because I miss him. He was a mandolin player, psychiatrist, but
and this was another solo, right?
Huh?
This
solo, right?
Just you, right?
Yeah. Sat down, wrote this a couple years ago at my piano at home, and Kenny heard it. I'll never forget. I got a call from an unlisted number that day. Kenny had recorded some of my songs before, but it wasn't like we knew each other that well. And it was Kenny's. He said, man, you just wrote my life on the water. And I said, which song? And he said, Guys Named Captain. So he said, I'm going to get Mac McAnally from from Jimmy Buffett's band to record guitar on this. He went and cut it. And now I did a version. You can go to Spotify and listen to my version of this. I recorded an album at Shrimp Boat Studios in Key West last Christmas. I did my own version, so that's playing. But this is also Kenny. I thank him so much because he left my dad's name in at the end too, Captain Vic. I'll just play a little bit of this. Guys named Captain are always characters, living by the water, somewhere in the Americas, South or Central, or some virgin island, barefoot and sun-kissed and always smiling. I'll go to the very end. Last verse. Guys named Captain have sons and daughters, flesh and blood, like my father, Captain Vic, who played the mandolin. And when they're gone, man, you miss them. Guy's name, Captain. Guy's name, Captain. Just a taste.
Yeah.
And I got to tell the story. After Kenny recorded that, he literally called me and he said, do you mind if I put my own father, who's a captain also, name at the end? And I was like, of course, man, I understand that. Of course, an artist like that.
Yeah.
Sure. Then he called me 10 minutes later and was like, did your dad really do all the stuff in the song? He was a mandolin player, all those pictures. I said, yeah, he was a psychiatrist, but his therapy on Sundays was go to the ocean. And Kenny said, I'm going to leave your dad, Captain Vic's name in there at the end for you. And man, it's such a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So I shout out a big heart full of love to Kenny Chesney, an artist like that. And it was just a beautiful thing.
Yeah. That's so cool.
Shall we do this open season a tiny bit?
Yeah,
We have
man,
time?
this is such a cool story. And I mean, what Willie is what, 90, 91, 92?
2002. Recorded first time?
No, like go ahead, tell the story. But I mean, just the point I'm trying to make is like just how much of an honor this has got to be.
Oh my
to
God!
like,
Yes, I think 1991. I was like, no,
no, for him to be in his 90s, is 91? Is that right?
I think he's 91 now.
Yeah. And to have this,
it's crazy.
Have this experience, like I mean, it's
crazy. So, like I said before, tying this all up, you have great moments and tough moments in this town. Be prepared for it. Sometimes there's tough ones and then the great ones. This is one of those pinch me moments.
Yeah.
So this song, Open Season on My Heart, I wrote with Rodney Crowell. I met him in Ireland before I moved here. But I'm you got to be persistent, So I kept in touch with him. Somehow I got to write with him when I first got here. He's a great guy and a brilliant writer, Rodney Crowell, And so we wrote when I first got here, and we wrote this song, Open Season on My Heart. And it got on, I was literally here 2 years, and it got on the Live Like You're Dying album, Tim McGraw.
Mm-hmm.
I also had another song on there with Tom Douglas called We Carry On. So Open Season on My Heart gets on there. The album back then in 2004 or 5 sold 4 or 5 million copies. It didn't have to be a single, and you made nice money.
Yeah.
You could put rice and beans on the table for your kids, man. So we had that cut. That was fantastic. 8 years later, Rodney recorded the song again with an icon, Emmylou Harris. And it came out on Rodney's record, and a duet record he did with Emmylou. And here we are in 2024, and I get a call from Buddy Cannon, who produced, Willie's records and also produces Kenny's records. He said, man, you got to hear this. And he goes, Willie just cut your song, Open Season on My Heart. So 3 cuts on one song. I mean, it's a dream.
Yeah.
And so literally weeks ago, I went in, got to hear a couple songs that Kenny had cut on an island record he's working on, which I'm very excited about. And he plays me Willie Nelson singing Open Season on My Heart. And I'm like, holy crap. And I'm telling you guys, we live for this. When you get the chills, who knows what it might be they give you. It might be the perfect Cuban coffee. It might be the perfect kiss from your lover. It might be a song when you finally hear Tim McGraw sing it at Bridgestone. But here's one of those moments where Willie's voice is coming over the speakers and he's singing the song you wrote, and he's 91. And I think I texted Rodney. I said, I just heard our song. And Rodney said this. He goes, yes, Willie's singing it with his appropriate vulnerability, which is, Rodney's such an eloquent guy, and appropriate vulnerability, meaning 91 years old. I don't know how many albums he's done. It was just beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that man. Should I play a little bit of that?
Yeah,
I'll give you a little to wrap it up. Okay. Open Season on My Heart. I got to play a couple verses because, man, I just love this song. Here's to the corners yet to turn. Here's to the bridges yet to burn. Here's to the whole thing blown apart. It's open season on my heart. The days go by like flying bricks. Yeah, they do. Leave gaping holes too deep to fix. I'd just stay home if I were smart. It's open season on my heart. And I'll get to the last verse. So here's to the clown down in the mouth. And here's to the whole thing going south. My own true love's turned poison dart. It's open season on my heart. And just when you think Rodney can't come up with a better line, he comes up with this. And here's to turning heartaches into art. It's open season on my heart. A little Broadway ending. Little Christmas at the end, too, in anticipation of the season.
Love it. James, thank you so much, man.
Oh, yeah, man. I really enjoyed it. Really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah. It's for a town that, you were like, hey, I don't know if I need to go to Nashville because it's country. So glad that you're here, and you've written so many songs that are, just mean so much to so many people out there.
Thanks,
and now look at Nashville. It's not just country.
It was a perfect time to move here. It's between writing with Steven Tyler, Michael McDonald, the experiences I've had here have been incredible, and it's an open canvas.
Yeah.
And, your venue has provided a forum for, people to make money, to meet people, to connect, to network, to exercise, to do what they do on stage, and it's all a beautiful tapestry here. I really love it.
Well, thank you.
I really love it. Thanks for having me, and what a blast. Let's keep rocking.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, we love having you too. And before we start this, we got some cool shows. We won't say anything yet, but we got some cool shows we're gonna work on, and
let's you,
it's gonna be
me,
pretty epic.
Your people and God make it happen.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
We can make this season coming up pretty good.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Last question. I know you've listened to several episodes, so you know what's coming. But if from LA to Europe, Panama, all the places you've been and everything that you've done, if you can go back to 8-year-old James in Panama, what advice do you give yourself today?
Stay true to yourself. It sounds so cliche, but as you navigate your way through life, it's funny. When you're being true to yourself. Sometimes you can get pulled in a million different ways. I'd say close your eyes. Remember what moved you as an 8-year-old in Panama. Playing piano, singing, learning new languages, the ocean. Whenever you get closer to who you really are, no matter what age you are, that's when you find the most fulfillment. And it ends up becoming, it sounds so simple, but that's where it's at. Stay close to who you are. And you just navigate your way through life. I just lost my mom 5 months ago, man. And when you lose your parent too, they kind of inhabit your heart even deeper. And it's almost somebody saying, stay true to who you are. So I'm basically who I was when I was 8. I love it. Play that piano, put your foot on the piano, enjoy yourself, have a good time, and do good. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Well, brother, love you, man. Appreciate you coming in.
Gracias, amigo. I never shouted out to my Spanish-speaking people. Gracias.
You want to give you want to give some words out in Spanish?
Sure, I'd love to. A little bésame. No, I'll tell you what I'll do. Bésame mucho, como si fuera esta noche la última vez. That's a beautiful Spanish song my mom used to sing all the time. And Nashville's becoming more Latin, man.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah. The other song I recorded with Willie years ago was a Latin song with a guy named Vicentico. It was half Spanish, half English. And man, get with it, y'all. Come on. Hey, we had them dancing in here. At the end of my show, Friday and last night, I get everybody up playing Café con Leche. And if you want to hear, go to Spotify, listen to Café con Leche, James T. Slater, and it's a song written about Sandy's Cafe. And Kenny put it on No Shoes Radio, and it's really, really a lot of fun. And I had people salsa dancing in here, going out the door salsa dancing, which, it's great fun.
Your shows are always great fun.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll put links in the liner notes for this episode.
Okay.
For people to follow you and get to your Spotify page and all that kind of stuff, so they can go hear that song and so many more. So,
well, you're doing a great thing here, and your staff is fantastic. Just wonderful. Gracias. Yeah.
Thank you.
Let's do more.
All right. Appreciate it. Thank you, everybody out there, for listening. This has been another episode of Stories Behind the Songs. I'm Chris Blair, and you've been listening to James Slater. We'll see you next time. Thank you for listening to another episode of Stories Behind the Songs with Chris Blair. Make sure to give us a follow on Spotify if you enjoyed this episode, and make sure you click that notification button so you can keep notified when new episodes come out. We release brand new episodes every Tuesday, and you can find us on YouTube at Stories Behind the Songs with Chris Blair, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Don't forget to send us a comment letting us know what you thought of the episodes. We love getting your feedback, and share this with your friends. The more we grow, the more that we can keep doing this. It's our mission to bring you all of these great stories behind the songs from some of Nashville's most iconic artists and songwriters, publishers, producers, everyone in between, and a lot of my great friends. We love what we do, and we love sharing their stories with you. We appreciate all of the continued support. Thanks also to all of our sponsors, and we will see you all next week.